Nicole Patino, Gabe Snyder, and Justin Irvin are here to answer your questions related to workers' comp, work, and wills. I have a question that I would like all of you to answer. Nicole, let's start with you. What is the biggest question or the biggest misconception that you hear with regards to employment and coronavirus?
I think right now it's part of the questions that have already been asked. Employees think that they're entitled to pay or multiple leaves because of COVID, and you're just not, unfortunately. Now, if COVID creates a disability or it exacerbates a disability, you may be entitled to accommodation. But COVID in itself is not an excuse for leaving work or disobeying the employer.
Gabe, what about you? What is the biggest question or misconception you hear about workers' comp and coronavirus?
Yeah, so I think the biggest misconception that I've seen is kind of more of a general principle, and that is that the employer is going to take care of a person and that they're going to do everything and give the person, the injured worker, everything they're entitled to. I think what's misunderstood is that when you file a workers' comp claim, many times it switches to an insurance company who doesn't know you, who hasn't worked with you, and doesn't know what a good worker you are. And so I think sometimes and the insurance company's looking to cut to the bottom line, okay, and they don't necessarily have the best interest of the employee at heart. So that's what I would say. File that workers' comp claim. Don't feel like you're not doing right by your employer or anything like that. It's required by law. So.
Okay, finally, Justin, what would you say is the biggest question or misconception you hear?
Well, we've touched on one of those, and that's the assumption that if you don't leave behind a will, that your spouse will automatically inherit everything. Sometimes that's the case, but that's not all. In addition to that, I think people don't realize that after you die, there's a whole process of administering your estate, either through the courts if you just left behind a will, or within a trust if you did a trust to go alongside your will. And part of putting together your plan is knowing how the court is going to look at and interpret these documents. You know, there's very specialized language that we use for that sort of thing.
Let's get back to some of those questions right now. Somebody's asking, can my job make me wear a mask at work for the entire day? Nicole?
Probably. If you have a disability that would not allow you to wear the mask the entire day, talk to your employer, request an accommodation, but otherwise, yes.
Gabe, somebody's wondering, what exactly makes someone eligible to file for workers' compensation?
Ooh, many things, but I would say the most common general principle is that you suffer an injury by accident while on the job and most likely at the employer. So, an exception to that might be a traveling salesman, somebody who travels for work and then gets into a car accident while they're working. But you've got to be on the job and have an accident. And there are some occupational diseases, but that's the general way to be eligible for workers' comp.
Someone's wondering, my son got hurt at work, but they are only paying him sick pay and that has run out. How can they not pay his workers' comp?
So if he was injured while on the job, then it sounds like there may be some discrepancy in paperwork, but the son needs to file a workers' compensation claim. It sounds like the employer, I'm not going to say that they're intentionally doing it, but maybe somebody at HR has their wires crossed. If he was injured on the job, make sure and file that workers' compensation claim. Go talk to an attorney. You need to file a Form 18 and get back on track and make sure that you're treating with the doctors that are approved by workers' compensation if they end up accepting your claim.
Nicole, somebody's wondering, what can an employer do if too many workers are testing positive for COVID-19 and the rest of us aren't feeling too safe coming to work?
I mean, it depends. The employer can do a lot of things, and increased safety measures might be that. Talk to the employer, because that is part of the duty. You know, go talk to HR, talk to your manager, talk to your supervisor, and if that doesn't work, call OSHA and say we've had 20 cases of COVID recently, and they can steer you in the right direction. But talk to the employer first.
This is a question that we've actually been getting quite a bit over the past several months. If I've been unemployed and I've been getting unemployment benefits and now I've been told that I was overpaid and I owe the money back, what can I do?
You can appeal it, and there are appeal rights on the letter. So that there are attorneys, no, we don't do that, but there are attorneys in the state who will work specifically to appeal the unemployment determinations like that and the overpayment amounts.
We have just 5 seconds left for this answer. Justin, I'm leaving it to you. Can you put a pet in a will?
Yes, North Carolina does recognize pet trusts.
Okay, 5 seconds. You did it. Nicole, Gabe, Justin, I appreciate all of your expertise. Thanks for joining us today. And if you missed any of today's interview, we'll be posting the segments on WFMYnews2.com in just a few minutes.